The other exciting development, which I think both of us are like, shut up and take my money as soon as it lands, is the Apple Vision Pro. So for anyone that's not seen the release of this, it's Apple's answer to the Oculus Quest and all these other kind of VR headsets. It looks very Apple. It looks like a pair of ski goggles with a little wire and a battery pack that you put in your pocket. So it's, plus 10 dork points. But my goodness, it's designed as an augmented reality headset. So you can look around and basically see the room around you, but digital items and apps and everything are like floating around you. So you can work as using an external monitor, but just looking around, and the controller doesn't exist. It's just your eyes. So it just detects what you're looking at, and then you just do that with your fingers to click on something. And you can have your hands wherever you want because there's cameras all around it. So it's looks like a very slick piece of design. And then there's all these other implications of, what's that's going to do to humanity, and are we all going to be just like living in these kind of isolated bubbles? You can sit and watch a film in your front room without a TV, and someone next to you could be watching a different film, but you kind of both in your own little bubble. And there's this thing about like taking photos, but the photos are now immersive memories. And the one that they showcased in the advert was a dad taking a memory of his 5-year-old girl on her 5th birthday party and just blowing out the candles, and it's a really like lovely kind of family magical experience. But what they don't show is that the reality of that is not this like lovely immersive 3D thing. It's dad is sat there with these goggles going like and like everyone's like, Dad, can you just be with us rather than having these googly eyes on your headset?
Well, so just to throw it back at you then. So firstly, I didn't realize it looked at your eye movement and that's how it tracked where you were looking. That's very advanced. The thing of like, what's it going to do to humanity? I would argue like that shift's happening anyway, and will probably continue to happen, and it'll just happen with screens. So like somebody sat looking at their phone, disengaged in a conversation, is arguably worse than like two people, both with one of these on, sharing an experience or something like that, or like playing a game or whatever it is, right? So I don't think that's necessary. I mean, if it's where we're going anyway, then I think it's a better version of that, personally, because it still encourages someone to sort of be engaged with the world rather than like scrolling on the phone. I realize will it just mean that everybody stays in the house and doesn't leave the house and doesn't have real interactions? Maybe. But I suppose what I'm saying is like that might just happen anyway, but without the immersiveness. So
yeah, possibly. And that's a very optimistic view. Like that's quite a Zuckerberg view of the whole thing, is that it's going to connect us together, and that the whole, I guess that's why Meta as a social network are looking to build VR into their hardware and almost like integrate the full chain of stuff.
I think Oculus, I hope I'm not wrong with this, but I think they're releasing a new version of Oculus this year in time for Christmas that is AR. The version that I bought a couple of years ago, which is VR, it's called the Quest 2, I think. Not the Quest Pro. That's the one with the that looks at you as well as what's happening. I think the new version of the Quest, that's like the affordable version, like the PlayStation version, is now an AR equivalent rather than just VR. So they're clearly moving very quickly in the same direction. It'll be interesting to see who wins. And they're both
going to be released around the same time by the sound of it. So,
well, no, this is like, is Apple going to release it this year? I thought it was like
into January
year. In the UK.
Oh, I don't know. I think they're only releasing like 1 million units, which I know sounds like a lot, but I think they'll get. Yeah.
Like, I wonder how many iPhones sell on day one of release when they bring out the new model. It'll be, if it were just 1 million, I'd be blown away, to be honest. If they just sold 1 million units on day one. So they'll go straight away. There'll be waiting lists, won't they? They'll be sold on eBay for 20 grand. And
well, yeah, I should say as well that it's retailing for 3.5 grand, which honestly, after seeing the trailer, I'm like, yeah, it's worth it.
I think that's great, to be honest. Like, that's less than I was expecting it would be, because it's a laptop, right? Like, it has, unless I'm missing something, like you could use it as a laptop.
So it's got iOS, I think it's got like Vision OS built in, but if you have a MacBook and you wear the headset, you can look at your laptop and then just take it with you.
Right. So it's
Like
a screen.
in your mind. I
Oh,
suppose.
you can. Oh, what? You look at your laptop and then it just loads your laptop onto the device.
Yeah, and then you can walk around and like you've got your laptop in your headset.
The entire functionality of the laptop.
Not sure.
So I thought it would work as a monitor, but it sounds like what you're saying is it just like takes that like, oh, all that's in me now.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's like remote accessing your laptop or if it's
Right.
treating it as a new thing.
Still.
But same outcome, isn't it?
If you could just sit, there's like clips, isn't there, of people on planes on the like the demo footage of they're like sat on a plane and they've got a big screen in front of them, and they're like, it's stuff like that I think is most, or even just like sat in your office and you've got sort of a document open here and a document open here and then your calendar open here and you're typing virtually.
That's what I'm most excited about. But yeah, like it'll make plane journeys a dream. Suddenly noise cancelling headphones and an immersive reality thing, like it's no longer an uncomfortable experience.
I heard Mark Zuckerberg talking about a problem they're having with like using AR in a car. So like if you're going on, if you're like, let's say you're like, you're being driven to school, you're a kid, you're being driven to school and you want to like play a game on your AR headset. The problem that they are having is like the moving environment is causing the sensors to like be confused about what's happening. Like, is the person moving or is it just, so they're having to work really hard to block out the movement. So if you're on a moving vehicle or like a plane, I guess is less relevant. But something where you can see in the window, like the environment passing you by, that's throwing the accuracy of the tracking off.
Oh God. So yeah, like listening to some of the engineers talk about it, like there's so much that they have to consider in just like making that work.
It'll be weird to see what it does to like, the thing I always wonder is like, what will it do to like dating and like sexual relationships? And you know, because like the proxy for those things is getting like closer and closer to reality. So much so that like, because you know the whole concern of like people having fewer kids and fewer people getting married and all these sorts of things, is that just gonna like really spike that if suddenly people can have like a full simulation of a relationship in an augmented version in their home, and then like the only thing you don't actually feel the physical intimacy, but everything else is like simulated. Will that slowly kill humanity?
Yeah, like is it going to drop off a cliff? There's none of the kind of arguments that you have with your spouse anymore. It's all just like a perfect virtual reality partner. Yeah, and like you're right. There's going to be so many unpredicted consequences of this, particularly with like, imagine combining all these different bits of tech that we have available. So there are GPT-based characters that are now being integrated into video games. So the NPCs of video games are now like GPT powered. So you can go into have a chat with like the guy, the blacksmith pinging the thing in Skyrim and go and be like, hi, how's your day going? And just have like a proper conversation with him. So these things are starting to get bridged and it's quite scary.
That is frightening.
So I guess in terms of like, what's the impact on humanity? Maybe we're all doomed. What's the impact on online coaching is the next question. And I don't know about you, I'm pretty optimistic about this, and I'll explain why from a hardware perspective, and we can see how this kind of fits in. But the way that they've solved the FaceTime problem with VR headsets is rather because obviously you've got something on your face. So how do you then see your face when you've got something on your face, and does that produce a weird FaceTime call? What it does is it uses a scanner to look at what your face looks like, and then it maps that and creates a 3D version of you to FaceTime with someone else remotely. And it looks like you're speaking to them in front of you. So that 3D version in the demo, like it looks a little bit kind of like, it's a little bit odd, like the uncanny valley, but it'll probably get there within 6 months.
Yeah, well, imagine that in 2 years' time. It'll be seamless, won't it? It'll
be very tasty. So suddenly, we're moving towards a much more personal experience that you can have with a coach. Like you could potentially, for a price that's worthwhile, do remote PT in someone's house without having to physically be there. So from my perspective, I think it adds a dimension to online coaching that we haven't had before, rather than replacing it.
But it comes back to the core principle, doesn't it, of like, what do people actually need? And they need basically to look bad in front of a human. They need to be like called out by a human when they do something wrong. So if I use MacroFactor to track my nutrition, right? If I don't log, there's two ways that fails, right? One is I don't log, MacroFactor doesn't give a couldn't care less, right? Second thing is I log and I just eat too much. It also doesn't give a and just adjusts my calories anyway. It's not assuming that I'm not adhering. It's not assuming that I'm like incorrectly tracking. It doesn't, if it's like, hang on, you say you've eaten a deficit, but your weight's gone up this week. Come on, mate. Doesn't do any of that. So like no amount of tech can really, and even if it did, it's still just an app. It's just an app. It's just AI. It's just ChatGPT. But if if I look bad in front of a person that I'm paying, and I look bad in front of a group of other people who are also paying that person, and they're all doing really well and I'm not, yes, I suppose that could be simulated. But I just don't think that will, if it is a simulation, and I know it's a simulation, I don't think that'll ever have the same grab on me as like, God, everyone else in this group's like smashing it, and I'm the only one that isn't. I feel like an idiot. So if the AR equivalent of that can enhance that feeling and bring that closer to actually being with those people in the gym or doing a virtual check-in and all those people are sat around me, fantastic. Like, it just makes an online experience feel more real and feel more engaging. I'm going to continue paying longer. I'm going to want to refer my friends to it. So I think until AI or until software removes the need for like the looking bad in front of a person, I think any tech development will just make it better. I think the tech will just adapt and improve, and we'll have all these tools to use. What I think will struggle, and people will kick off at this, I'm sure this will get clipped. What I think will struggle is face-to-face personal training, because that is getting less and less valuable as the online version is becoming more and more like having a face-to-face interaction with someone in a gym. If I can do that from home, why am I going to like sit in traffic on a morning and go out in the cold and go out when it's frosty and I have to defrost my car and my hands are cold on the steering wheel?
Suddenly it's instant access.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great point about the looking stupid in front of another person, because the core things that really cause someone to stay with you when you're an online coach are accountability and community. And those two things are so powerful. And really the tech is just making that more powerful. It's just making it easier to do and making it more convenient for the client. We get two types of fears around software, like not us personally, and we like people commenting on our ads and like people that message us and they're worried about this. The first one is like, oh, online coaching's dead because AI is just going to replace all the online coaches and we'll be out of a job. And it's like, AI is only going to replace the bad online coaches that are basically just doing macro adjustments. Like, it just means that you have to step up your game a little bit and be more of a human coach. The other fear is, well, how do I know that I'm using the right software? And I need to make sure that the client has the software, and I have to, make sure that my Google Sheet is like this and my delivery is so. It's like, really, the client doesn't care. And if they did, you should be worried, because if the client is only signing up with you because of your software, then you've got bigger problems.
Yeah.
So really, software, platforms, delivery, all that stuff, it's just a vehicle for you to interact as a human with your client and to do that human coaching relationship. And nothing's really going to replace that. Like, yes, there's things you can do to make some of the delivery more efficient, but it's still you at the end of the day that they're buying. People buy coaches, not coaching.
The people who worry about like online, or the people who say like, oh, like we get this on ads all the time, like, it is the opinion of me and my fellow trainers that online coaching is a ripoff. Like, okay,
it's always written like that as well.
Yeah, like, or like as an S&C coach for the last 15 years, it's like, respectfully, like no one gives a fuck like what your background is. Like, the comment is still just a comment on a Facebook ad. But like the email I wrote the other day is like, if you sit down and ask that person, like, what do you think of VShred? They'll go, oh, that fucking guy on my YouTube, he's always on YouTube. I haven't got a fucking clue what he's talking about. One of my clients bought this thing. They are making like minimum 8 figures a month selling that product online. So what is it that they have figured out that you, with your 15 years of S&C experience, haven't cracked yet? And what is it that, like, when is the online coaching's failing gonna hit VShred? Right? They aren't worried about that. But there are millions and millions of people buying online coaching, using bits of software, signing up for group programs online, signing up for one-on-one coaching online. So, and it's the same thing with the AI shift. So people see like, oh, ChatGPT is going to take my clients. There's 2 ways to approach that. One of them is like, how do I take advantage of the software to improve my coaching? And the other is just like, la 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 la, like it's all bullshit. AI is not going to do anything. Those are the people who are going to be out of a job in 5 years' time.
Precisely, yeah. It's not, you won't be replaced by AI. You'll be replaced by people who know how to leverage AI. So that's we had a great chat with Mike Israetel a few months ago, and who kind of mentioned something similar to that point, Johnny, which was like, well, you were there, so I don't know why I'm addressing you with this. This is for theatrical purposes. The whole mentality of like, build it and they will come. Like, well, I've been an S&C coach for 15 years and I know all this stuff. So, it just creates this like bitterness that people aren't buying my program and they're buying VShreds, and, it's everyone else's fault. It's like, well, no, it's your fault for not communicating that to the market.
Like the video you did about summarizing Anton Kreil's video that got reshared by Anton Kreil. Round of applause for yourself. There's one thing that he says in it, which is like, or I'm going to butcher this, but paraphrasing, if you like complain about like the rules of the world, like you are the problem. Like it is not the game, it's not the parameters that are the problem. That what you think is the issue, you are the issue. So like you either participate in the game as it's evolving. So like the fitness industry is going to be impacted by ChatGPT, AI, all these developments. You either say, no. The qualification that I did 10 years ago at university that speaks about like BOSU balls and all that bullshit, that's what's going to last. ChatGPT is a scam. The only person who's going to experience the negative consequences of that is you. And it's the same with whatever an AR headset, let's say that becomes the norm in 10 years' time. If you've decided that it isn't, it's not going to change the shape of the industry. It's just going to change your business, no one else's.
Yeah, you can opt out of the game, but you're also opting out of the results from that game too.
Yeah.